Hello everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. So today I am going to discuss about in Python list and tuples. So basically these are the data structure which is available in Python, which you can use to store the data in a sequence manner. Okay, so suppose you want to store some data like an array, so you can use a list and a tuple, which is providing a much more powerful functions you can use to manipulate the data, insert and delete, and after you can just update the data. Okay, so initially I am talking about a list. So what is list? A list in Python is a sequence container. So it is a sequence container. It is containing a data in a sequence manner, right? Just like an array. So what is array? Array is basically a collection of data. So suppose I am having some data like 2, 3, 7, 10. So like some data are stored in a sequence manner. Okay. So similarly in Python, a list is basically stored the data in a sequence manner. It is called as because every element is associated with the index. So if I can say that these 4 elements are stored into a list, so every element is associated with the index, and that index is in an ordered form. So that's why it is called an ordered collection. Okay. It is just like the array, but listed need not to be homogeneous. So what is the limitation of array? Array is having basically a similar type of data. This is the limitation of array, right? So in the list, you can store any type of data, right? So suppose I am having a list. List is having a basically 4 elements. Suppose list is having a 4 element. So first is 4, second is 5.2, third is ABC, and the fourth is true. Okay, so this is the list. List is basically defined by this. You can see the square bracket is here, and the element are stored and element are separated by a comma, right? And if you can see, this list is having a 4 element, and every element is having a different type of data, right? If I'm talking about a 4, so 4 is an integer type, and 5.2 is a float type. So this is integer, this is float, right? And if you can see ABC is a string type data, and this is a Boolean type data. So there is no problem if you want to store a different type of data in a single list in Python. There is no problem at all. But if I'm talking about an array is basically containing a similar type of data, right? So if you are defining an array with the type of integer, right? So that array is stored only the integer type values. That's it. If you want to store a float type value or a string type value in a particular array, it will give an error. But in list, you can store any type of data in a list because the type of this list is list. It is not any predefined data type like an integer or float or string or a Boolean. It is data type is basically it is work as an object. So object can store a different type of values. Understood? And this list is stored into a memory, and that memory is referenced to that particular variable. Okay. Next, lists are mutable. So the main important point is here list. What is a kind of list? List is basically a mutable. That means you can change. Once you have created, after that you can change it. Change means either you can insert element, you want to update the element, you want to delete the element. So that means you are do with the predefined function which is available in Python. So lists are mutable, hence they can be altered even after their creation. Once you have created the list, after that you can alter it. That's why lists are called mutable. Okay. And the indexing is starting from the 0, just like the array. Array indexing is start with 0. Similarly, the indexing of list is a start with 0. Next, addition element to a list. So suppose you want to add an element. You have already created a list, and if I am storing a value into a variable, L1 is equal to, so L1 is equal to, so this is the list which is having some values. So this list is having 4 variables, 4 values. And if you want to add some element, so you are having a predefined 3 functions available here, which you can use to add the element into the particular list, right? So if you can see this, the first function is append function. So you can call this function with the object. What is object? Object is this L1, which you are created here. L1, which is stored these 4 elements into a memory, and this reference is pointed to the L1. So this object, you can call these function, 3 functions we can discuss one by one. So first is append function. So append is basically used to add the element into the list. But the main thing is, whenever you are calling append function, the element is added at the end of the list. For example, I am calling here L1 dot append 7. Okay, so I am calling here L1 dot append 7. So 7 is added into the L1, but the indexing of L1 is stored after the true. So that means it is storing on the indexing of 4, because this indexing is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So 7 is stored at the indexing of 4 only. So append function is used to add the element into the list, but the limitation is every time the element is added into the end. Okay. The second function is insert. So suppose you want to insert an element at a particular location. Okay. So suppose I am having here, you can see I am having here 4 elements, and I just want to add some element at a particular indexing. So if you want to add an element into a particular index, you can just pass the indexing value here, and after that you can just pass the element. Okay. For example, let us consider here L1 dot. Okay. So what will happen here? If you can see this list, the one indexing is having a value 5.2. So what is basically, it is not replacing this 5.2 value. It is just shifted the values here. Okay. It is basically shifted the value to the right hand side, and this Nitin is inserted at the location of 1. Okay. So what the list become here? 4, and the one indexing is having a Nitin. Then after that, 2 indexing having a 5.2. Then ABC is shifted to 1 point right hand side, and true is also shifted to the right hand side. So automatically the location is basically free, and all the elements are shifted into the right hand side. Understood? So if you want to add an element at the end, you can call a append function. If you want to add an element at the particular location, you can call a insert function. By the using of index and element, you can insert element at the particular location. Now the third one is extend. If you want to, basically there are some limitations. Like if I am talking about append function is having a limitation. Okay, it is insert an element at the end at every time, right? So to overcome this problem, I can use an insert function. By the using of insert function, you can add the element at the particular location. But there are also one limitation in these two functions. You can add only one element at a time. This is the limitation of these two functions. So if you want to add more than one element into the list, you can use an extend function. By the using of extend function, by the using of this square bracket, you can enter element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, element 5. You can insert any number of element at the single time. Okay. So this is the third function. And this function you can call with the object, list object. You can see every time I am calling this function with the, this append is basically an insert function. Okay. Okay. So every time whenever you are calling a function, you can call with the function object of L1. Understood? So these are the function which you can use the adding the element into the list after the creation. Next. Okay. If you want to access the element, so there are two ways. Either you can access the element from the list. So either you can use the for loop. This is the easiest way, but the condition is that with the using of for loop, you can access all the elements, right? So suppose I am having some element in a list, L1 is having a list. So you can call for I in L1 and then print I. Okay. So by the using of this loop, you can see it is taking one by one element from the L1 and give it to I, and it is printed it, right? So this loop is running until it is getting the element from the list L1. And the second option is, if you want to access the element from the list, not all the elements, if you want to access only the particular element, right? If you want to access the particular indexing element, suppose I just want to access the third indexing element, fourth indexing element, or the 5th indexing element. If you want to access any particular indexing point, so you can access by using of this way. Okay. So like suppose there is a list L1. So L1 and the square bracket, you can just pass the indexing. So suppose I just want to access the 4th indexing value. So you can just simplify the 4. Got it? Next, you can also use the negative indexing. What is the meaning of basically the negative indexing? Suppose I am having a list. I am just creating a list here. Suppose this is the list 1, 7, 3, 5, 4. Okay, so I'm having some element here, right? And the indexing is basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the indexing. This is basically a positive indexing. And the negative indexing from the right hand side, that is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Understood? So either you can access by the using of positive indexing, or either you can access by the using of negative indexing. It is totally depend on you. You want to access in which way, right? Basically the positive indexing starting from the left to the right hand side, and the negative indexing is starting from the right hand side to the left hand side. Only the basic difference is that the positive indexing is starting from the 0 and the negative indexing is starting from the -1. Suppose I just want to print a 3. So in the positive way, this is the list, suppose L1. So L1, if you want to access through the positive value, so L12 is printing a 3. And if you want to access by the using of negative indexing, so L1 -3 is printing 3. Got it? So these are the two ways you can access the element from the list, same as an array. So either by the using of loop, or either you can using a particular indexing values. Okay. The third point is removing the element from the list, same as the array, just like the array. So if you want to have some element, suppose this is the L1, I am having here 5 elements and I just want to remove it. So these are some functions here, 3 functions which is given here, which you can use to remove the element from the list. For example, first function is remove. Suppose you want to remove element from the list, so you can simply call L1 dot remove, and you can just pass here 3. It is just remove it from the list. And the indexing is automatically adjusted. Element are also automatically adjusted. That means the 5 is shifted to the 2 and 4 is shifted to the 3. 3 is automatically deleted, and this index value is free. The location is free. So it doesn't mean that if you are going to print it L1 2 and it is printing blank or garbage value. No, all the element is automatically adjusted. There is no free space in between of them, right? So remove element, remove the first match element. First match element, what does it mean? Suppose you are having a list and there are some duplicate values, right? So suppose I am creating here L1 is equal to 5, 7, 3, 3, 4, 3. And if you can see, there are multiple 3 here. Okay. So whenever you are calling a remove 3, so it is searching from the left hand side and the first appearance is available at indexing 2. It is removed from the list. Got my point? So if your list is having a duplicate value and you are calling a remove function, and that particular element is having a duplicate value in particular list, it is automatically repeat the first appearance. Whenever first appearances occur in a list, it is just remove it. Got it? If you are calling again the remove function, suppose you are calling a second time remove function and the same element you want to remove, so second means this 3 is deleted, the second time this 3 is deleted, third time this 3 is deleted. When the fourth time you are calling a remove, it gives an error because there is no 3 element is into the list, right? Next, pop function. Pop is basically just like the append function which is used to append the element at the end, pop function which is used to delete the element from the last, okay, from the end point, right? So it is basically remove the point, but the condition, the main point is here, pop function basically return the value. Suppose I am calling here L1 dot pop and I am talking about this list. So it is removing a 4 and it is written the value. If you want to store this value, you can just store by the using of assign operator like this. So I am using assign operator and I am storing that value into a different variable, right? So pop is basically remove the element from the last point, from the last element, okay, last indexing, and it is also written the value. If you want to store, you can store it. Otherwise, you can just leave it. So it is just show, okay, I am just popping this value and just go ahead. it is not available into the memory if you did not store into the particular variable, right? Next, pop index. Same, if you want to delete element at the particular indexing. Listen, there are difference between a remove and pop index. Remove is basically removing the element, right? And the pop is basically deleting the particular indexing element, right? So suppose you want to delete a 3 indexing element, that means you want to delete the 5 and you don't know what is the element at that particular position. You know the index only. So you just pass the indexing value into the pop. It is just removed from the list. Okay. Next, concatenation. If you want to concatenate to list, you can use a plus operator, just like you can use in a string. And also you can, if you want to repeat the list, so you can use a multiply operator. Okay. I'll just explain one by one. For the concatenation, suppose I am having here list L1 is equal to 1, 2, and the second list is 3, 4, and L1 plus L2, right? So it is written 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, got it? So by the using of plus operator, it is basically concatenating to list. Not adding, means it doesn't mean that you can just write the answer like 1 plus 3 is 4 and 4 plus 2 is 6. So if anybody is writing this answer, this is wrong. It is not doing the addition because L1 and L2 are object. So plus is basically operator which is used to addition of two number, but in the object it is used to concatenate two objects. Okay. So when you are concatenating L1 plus L2, 1 plus 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the result is 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, whenever you are executing this expression, it is give the result only, but it is not storing into a particular variable. That means after that, if you are going to print a L1 and L2, both are printing the same values. Like L1 is printing 1, 2, L2 is printing a 3, 4, right? But if you are storing into a L1, so it is storing the value into the L1. So L1 value is updated. L1 is having a L1 plus L2. The concatenation value is stored into the L1. Understand? Next is repetition. Okay. So repetition means L1 is 1, 2. I am writing here L1 multiply by 2. So it is basically printing 1, 2, 1, 2. So it is repeating 2 times. If you are writing here 3, it is repeating a 3 times. So if you want to repeating some element, so whenever you are creating an array is having some repeating value, so you can just write multiply operators here. Okay. So concatenation and repeaters. Let's discuss about some more operations which is available in a list. So first is sequence.copy. What is sequence? Sequence is a list object, right? So for example, I am just telling you what does it mean of this copy function. It is very important, right? Let us see. Suppose I am writing here L1 is equal to 2, 5. Okay. So you can just understand how this is stored into a memory. It is basically stored into a memory at 2 and 5. L1 is pointing out this memory location and 1, 4, 3, 2. It is just a random number, which is we can say that this is a particular ID of this list L1. Okay. And I am writing an expression L2 is equal to L1. Okay. So it doesn't mean that the value of L1 is copied to the L2, right? What this function equal to operator do, L2 is also pointing out the same memory location. Okay. So L2 is also pointing out the same memory location. Got my point? So whenever you are changing in a L1, it is also reflecting to L2. If you are changing in a L2, it is also reflecting into the L1, right? So what the solution of this? The solution is this copy function. You can just write L2 is equal to L1 dot copy. So what this function do? This is basically creating a copy and store into the L2. So whenever this function is calling, so L2 is creating a different memory location. And if you are changing in a L1, it is not reflecting to L2 because both are storing at the different memory location. Understood? Next is reverse. Reverse is basically used to reverse. It is not written anything. It is just reverse the original sequence. Suppose 2, 5. So if you are calling L1 dot reverse, so it is written 5, 2. Okay. It is basically used for the sorting. So suppose you are having some element, it is sorted in a ascending or descending order. Okay, so like you can pass here reverse is equal to true, so it is reversing into the reverse order. By default, the value of reverse is false. If you are not passing here, like in this function, I'm not passing anything here, so reverse is having a here false value. And if you want to update it, reverse is equal to true. And if you want to delete all the elements, sequence dot clean, which is basically delete all the elements from the list. These are the functions you can call any collections like list or tuple. You can call it minimum, maximum, length. It is basically given the minimum value from the sequence, maximum value from the sequence, and it is basically written the length of the sequence. Okay. Next. Okay. So list comprehensive. This is the most important thing in a list. So there are basically in a list comprehensive, there are three parts. First part is this one, you can see the output expression. Second is input sequence, and third is optional conditions. Condition is basically optional, either you can pass or either you can just neglect it. Okay. Sequence. So suppose I just want to create a list which is having a 1 to 10. Okay. So if you want to create a 1 to 10 list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these kind of element in a list. So if you creating in a manual way, it is taking a much more time, right? So what will happen? You can just use a list comprehensive. So I am creating here L1 is equal to X 4X in range 1, 11. So what will happen? This sequence is running, this loop is running, range is creating a sequence. One by one, it is giving the value into X, and this is the output expression. Whatever come into the output expression, it is stored into the list. So one by one, it is creating 1, 2, 3, 4. So L1 is created, which is having an element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. Okay. And this is the example with the condition. Suppose you want to create a sequence or create a list which is having a even number, square of even numbers, right? So first of all, I just get the even numbers, then we have to square it, then store into the list. Similarly, I'll do it. 4x in sequence. Sequence means you can call here range function. So it is created one by one value. So suppose 1. Then it is check the condition. If x mod 2 is equal to 0, that is false. So that means that output expression is not evaluated. Whenever condition is true, the output expression will be evaluated. Okay. So next is, you can see, next is 2. Whenever 2 is here, if 2 mod 2 is equal to 0. So condition is 2. So the value of x is 2. And you can see double star, which is used to calculate the power of x. That means x square. So the value is output expression is evaluated and it is stored into the list. Understood? So this is the way sequence is created. Every time whenever condition is true, output expression is evaluated and it is stored into the list. Okay. So this is the way list comprehensive you can use to create a list which is having a multiple element that is having some conditions. So by the using of this, you can just easily create it. Understood? Okay. Tuple. Next data structure is tuple. So let me discuss about a tuple. Tuple is also an ordered collection, just like the list. Ordered collection. Okay. Python object much like a list. But the only difference is that it is basically used to create a parenthesis. So like these bracket are uses here. Okay. And the list is using a square bracket. That is the difference. The important difference between a list and tuples are immutable. List, you can change it. After created, you can change it. Okay. You can alter it once the list is created. Okay. But you can't change the value of tuples once it is created, right? That's why it is called immutable. So now you can understand lists are mutable because the mutable nature, it is having a adding function like insert, append, extend function, delete function, pop, remove function. Due to this immutable nature, tuple does not have any insertion operations predefined, any deletion operations. Okay, so there is no predefined function for inserting and deletion in a tuple. Okay, you can create a tuple by the list. The tuple is having a single value, must include a comma. If you want to create a tuple with a single element, suppose you are writing here t1 is equal to 4 only. And if you can check what is the type of t1, so it is written integer. So if you create a single value, if you were creating a tuple with a single value, it is written a whatever type of the single values, right? It is having an integer, so it is written an integer. So the solution is, if you want to create a tuple with a single value, you can use a comma here. Understood? I've already told you Python is basically enclosed within a parenthesis. Plus and multiply operator just same as the string or list. I told you earlier. Similarly, for the concatenation and the repetition, so plus and multiply operator. Accessing, if you want to access the element, so either you can use a positive value indexing, or either you can use the negative indexing, or either you can use the slicing. Slicing is, just take an example. So suppose I am having here tuple t1 is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. Okay, so these are the element, and if the indexing is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you want to cut these values, 4, 5, 7, you just cut the slice from the t1. So you can write here t1, and these are the three values. This is a starting point, end point, and the steps. So starting point is 2 colon, end point is 4, and you must be know about it. End point is not included; it is excluded from the indexing. So I can just write here 5 colon. How many steps? One by one step I have taken here. That means after that 2, that 3, then 4. So there is taking only one step at a time. So whenever you are calling this 2, 5, 1, it is printing here. That is 4, 5, and 7. Got it? So this is the way you can access the tuple values. Methods, repetition already discussed, concatenation, membership operator you can use. Like suppose I am having here tuple earlier, like 2, 7, 9, 11, 13, 71, 92. And if you want to check any element is here, so I can just write here 9 in T1. So it is written a true. I am writing here 91 in T1. It is written false. So membership operator is basically used to check the membership particular in a tuple. Okay. Length, min, max, tuples, these are the predefined functions you can use directly it. Okay. So suppose you are having a list and you want to create a tuple. I have a list L1. So if you want to create a tuple, so T2 is equal to, you can call a function tuple and you can write here L1. Okay. So this is the way you can just create it. Okay. Compare operator is basically using a Python 2.0. Right now it is not working here. For the swapping, you can just write here simply T1, T2. So like T1 comma T2, there are two tuple, you want to swap the value. So T2 comma T1. So what will happen? The first value from the right hand side and put into the T1. Okay. And second value is stored into the second variable into the left hand side. This is the way you can just swap it in a single line. Unpacking of tuple. Unpacking of tuple means tuple is having some values like T1 is equal to 1, 2, 3. And if you want to unpack it, so you can write here X, Y, Z. So X is having basically a 1, Y is 2, and Z is 3. One main point you must remember here, suppose there are 3 values, so you must be write here 3 variable. If you are writing here 2 or 4 variable, it return error. Okay, it is not unpacking the values here. Got it? Okay. So thank you so much. Today we discuss about a list and a tuple, which is in a Python data structures. Okay, in a Python. So in the next class we discuss more about a set and dictionary.